from my theater piece, McCarthy and the Old Woman, a full-length play about extraordinary character Florence James. And before you ask, Florence James is white. I, Rita, am black. I will read both parts. I've heard stories from my mother. The difference between the Depression and any other time, according to Mom, was that in the 30s, everybody lived like black people. Mom loves to tell how she and her sisters survived the Depression. You see, we could read very well, in fact, and we knew our Bible. So we went from door to door reciting the books of the Bible from memory, and people would give us a nickel. We were their entertainment. For another nickel, we'd recite the most famous verses, sort of a Bible's greatest hits. Says Florence James. Then you'll understand why the Depression was when we started the Negro Repertory. I got my actors and singers from Seattle's African Methodist Episcopal Church. I grew up in one of those churches. We love the cadences of classical English, the rhythms of the King James Bible and Shakespeare, and until the Civil Rights Movement, church was the only place we could have center stage. Florence, you do know that I'm black. Oh, yes, of course. I was consulted about this talented young actress from Toronto who happens to be black. Should the Globe hire her? I said, why not? What does it matter? To tell you the truth, how has it ever mattered? Skin color did not change how talented those Negro people were. All they got to do was be maids and janitors in real life, and in the theater, the maids' parts. I was still playing maids even in the 1960s. It makes me so angry. So you know what I'm talking about. It's gone on that long? You bet. That's why I was stunned to get a real acting job in Saskatchewan in the 70s. But nothing much has followed my grand triumphs. One of the Negroes was a doozy, a star quality of an actress, Alberta Walker. Funny, I can still remember her name when I've forgotten so much else. And I can see her to this day. To succeed, you need two things, talent and opportunity. Alberta certainly had the talent, and for a while we were able to provide the opportunity. You know what's really been a pain? People from Toronto look all smug and say, "You moved to Regina?" Where else was I going to be treated just like an ordinary actor, to have that opportunity? At my husband Burton's memorial service, Alberta says, "The Playhouse was the first and only place where I've been treated like a person. All I was asked to do was to do my job and do it well." It's an amazing freedom to feel like all that's going to stop you are the limits of your own abilities. No racial barriers, not other people. All of this opportunity only lasted a short time, though. During the Depression, we had some money, you see, really for the first time. Odd. Money for theater during the Depression? Money for black artists, too? Money for people. This is an excerpt from an essay published by the Aboriginal Healing Foundation, which has 3 wonderful volumes about reconciliation. reconciliation after residential schools. So the third volume, a number of us multicultural types were asked to write essays for a book called Cultivating Canada, Reconciliation Through the Lens of Cultural Diversity. 1971-72. There are shadowy brown people creeping around the edge of what feels like a USA Wild West town square. It resembles 1940s Texas, where I grew up in my mind's eye. But focus, get a grip, woman. This is not Texas. This is Canada, my new country in the 1970s. This is Thunder Bay, Ontario. I am still black, however, but these brown people are not Afro-Canadians. Regina is my final destination, this first trip west from Toronto. And there I come to understand that these mysterious brown people are Aboriginal. The déjà vu feeling is correct, though. Aboriginal persons are literally and figuratively on the margins. They are excluded from the center of society's hustle and bustle. In those days, I was an actress and thrilled beyond words to have been hired by Regina's professional theater, the Globe. Black and other visible minority actors working in mainstream theater was not easy then, and not much easier now, but that's another story for another essay. 1971 is only 3 short years after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., and memories of the civil rights era are still fresh. Many Regina citizens have vivid memories of news footage featuring police dogs, fire hoses, and angry mobs shaking their fist at little black girls. When Saskatchewanites mentally connect me with this racial trauma they've witnessed on television, they begin to chant with passion and compassion, "We are not racist in Canada." Quickly, I discover that these same not racist people believe that Indians are all on welfare, are lazy and shiftless, are not proactive about their children's educations, have messy family lives, and are drunks. I tell at least 3 individuals per day that these attitudes directed at an identifiable group constitute racism. They have become convinced that only if their negative feelings are directed at black people, of whom there are almost none in Regina, are they being racist. Racism and Aboriginal peoples are not yet terms that can logically be linked for most folk. So I tell at least 3 people a day that I, a middle-class, well-educated, employed in professional theater of all places black person, identifies with the Aboriginal targets of racism. Never mind that I know next to nothing about the lives, issues, history, and concerns of these Plains Indians. It is a skin-deep, knee-jerk identification thing that has followed me for 40 years. While I was Nancy's chair of women's studies at Mount St. Vincent University in Halifax, I coordinated a course called Women, Contemporary Aboriginal Issues and Resistance. The main reason I coordinated the course is that I knew our community needed to meet some very distinguished, intelligent, Aboriginal women who could instruct them on how to move forward in their own Aboriginal educations. So we taught the course, we invited in high school students, people from the community, and later we had the opportunity to create a multimedia kit. It's 83 minutes of videotape and has 3 story books, fictionalized accounts of how young people come by a better Aboriginal education. And this is all available, free and downloadable. Being in Nancy's chair of women's studies was a great privilege, in part because you only need to teach 1 course per term. So a great deal of energy and creativity can go into that 1 course. It seemed to me that what the university needed most at that moment was a course about Aboriginal issues with all of the content delivered by Aboriginal people, and I am not Aboriginal. So I was able, through contacts that I had developed at APTN, Aboriginal People's Television Network, and just a whole variety of work in media, to gather the 5 Aboriginal women, amazing women who could deliver the content of the course. I was sort of a catalyst, so that was a good thing for me. I felt useful and valuable, that I was using my connections in a way that was helpful. Then when we came to putting together the kit, all of the people who worked on it were Aboriginal women. The videographers, the researcher, and it's also got marvelous visual arts in it, and those are all Aboriginal women visual artists. If you're wondering about the concentration on women, Mount St. Vincent is historically a feminist university, and in many structures in our society, including universities, women are marginalized and left out. So I thought it was very important that not only everybody be Aboriginal, but that everybody be women. And this was a contribution that I was able to make in pulling all this together, and that was very important to me.